Every entrepreneur has a moment or a series of moments that leads them to become who they are meant to be. I call these moments intuitive turning points. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I am the host of Intuitive Turning Points. Come join us for stories of successful entrepreneurs who have gone through the journey. These entrepreneurs have accomplished so many things in their lives. I will have best-selling authors, TEDx speakers, people who've created successful businesses as an entrepreneur. It doesn't happen overnight. And as I always say, entrepreneurship is a personal development journey. And it takes time to develop yourself into the person you're meant to be, to help other people become who they're meant to be. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. Marissa Nehlsen is a money and business strategist. Over her 28-year career, she has helped thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs worldwide learn the systems, structures, and strategies that teach not just the what and why, but the how to minimize their taxes and maximize their profits. As a money and business strategist, Marissa has been recognized as one of the nation's leading experts on building wealth, minimizing taxes, and repositioning profits. She has built multiple multi-million-dollar companies for herself and for thousands of her clients. As an active philanthropist, when she isn't helping business owners future-proof their businesses around the world, she can be found on her mountain. Yes, she owns a mountain, changing lives in Costa Rica through the Foundation of Latin America. Let's welcome to the show, Marissa Nehlsen. Marissa Nehlsen, welcome to Intuitive Turning Points.
Well, yay! I'm so excited to be here with you. We've been, Dr. Meg and I have been trying to get this interview for, I don't even know how long, between your schedule and my schedule. I think we might have the two craziest schedules on the planet right now. So thank you for allowing me to be in your house today. This is so fun.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, come sit in my living room. We're going to have the fireside chat.
I love it. Yeah, if you could see, I know that we have podcast listeners here today, but if you could see the beautiful background that Dr. Meg gets to sit in every day, you would be like, yeah, I want to live there.
Yeah, it's so cool. I live in a building built for Paramount Studios in 1926. So it's old Hollywood. It's just lovely and romantic. I love it.
It's gorgeous.
Well, so Marissa, I have the question for you of what intuitive turning point moment or series of moments led you to become who you are today?
Oh, I have several. I think there are several turning points as I think back, on my 47 years on this planet, and thinking about, which, by the way, I just gave away my age. What was I thinking? Okay. Can we delete that part of the podcast? I'm just teasing. But, I think, there are several points, and I would share with you, there was one point when I was a small child. I was 9 years old. I grew up in a very, very abusive household. And I remember my dad came in. I'd forgotten to put the towels in the dryer. And my dad came in and was really, really angry. And I knew I was in trouble. So I tried to run. I tried to hide. I tried to get away from him. But he caught up with me in the laundry room. And he literally picked this 9-year-old scrawny little girl up by the throat and threw me against the wall. And
oh my gosh,
I'm laying on the floor, and my dad started kicking me and kicking me and kicking me. And I realized, like, okay, this is going to end very badly here, right? And so bottom line was, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I'm in trouble. And in my head, in that moment, was the first intuitive moment I've had in my life. And I hear this voice in my head. Now, I'm not crazy, right? I hear this voice, just a whisper in my head, in my ear, that says, get up. You've got to get up right now. You've got to get up right now.
Wow.
And now keep in mind, my dad is 6'8". He's a big boy. I am 9 years old. I'm a little girl, scrawny, right? And he has big steel-toed boots that he's kicking me in. And I knew, like, I grew up in this household where, I'd seen him abuse my mother for years. I'd seen him abuse my siblings. He used to, beat my brothers. He used to beat my sisters.
Oh my God.
And this was going to end badly. And so I got up and I literally put my finger up in his face and I looked at him up and I said, you touch me again and I'm going to tell everybody. You kick me again or touch me again and I'm telling everybody what you are and who you are. I'm telling everybody. So you better just kill me because I'm going to tell everybody if you kick me again.
Wow.
And he backed up.
Uh-huh.
He backed up in this moment. And I thought, okay, I'm dead. Like, he's going to kill me. And he backed up. He looked at me, his eyes got all big, and he turned around and he walked out of the room.
Oh my God. Wow.
And I remember just sitting there in this slump on the floor. And I remember thinking, what was that? What was that? And that inner voice, that moment, it changed everything for me in boldness going forward in my life. I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And from that day on forward, my dad used to continue to beat my mom, my sisters, my brothers, my whole family, till my mom left when I was 14. So 5, 6 years later. And at the end of the day, he never touched me again after that day. And I could literally walk into a room and de-escalate situations past that. So if he was hurting my mom, I remember one time he had her up against the wall by her throat with his forearm, and he was, punching her. And I walked in and I said, "You stop it right now. You stop beating my mother." And he turned around and looked at me, and he left. He just left. Each time, every time, he would leave.
It's so interesting. I mean, just how that really shifted the way you responded and the way you carried yourself and brought yourself to the situation, whatever that next situation was.
It's like a muscle that developed over time. And I would begin to hear step back or step forward. I would begin to hear, when I say hear, not audibly, but I literally felt in my body, right?
Yeah.
Step back, step forward, step up, be quiet, and so in that moment, that was my first massive turning point on facing my giants in my life. And in that moment, I realized I'm going to have giants for the rest of my life. There's always going to be people. There's always going to be situations that will beat me down, that will beat you down. Yeah. And in that moment, I needed to decide to face that giant, but I needed to listen to that inner voice. I needed to really, really get still, get clear on what does that voice say to me.
This is such an important piece of intuition. Is it's not just listening. It is, like you said, building the muscle, of building it, because you do that every time you choose to follow what it has to say to you, and your specific abilities in that regard are just knowing, that sense of knowing, and then that sense of inner hearing. Those inner senses are really getting activated. And I think that's and this, I think I've seen this a lot actually, is trauma is one of those places where intuition opens up for people. Because we become more sensitive, we become more hyper aware because we're in this traumatic space, but it's not just a setback or a bad thing. It can really ignite something really amazing for us,
And I think I've carried that through in multiple situations throughout my lifetime, and I can tell you I know when it doesn't work as well. Like when I've not listened to it. Yeah. And life does not work. Yeah. It doesn't work. Bad things happen, and I'll give you some examples of that. But one of the things that I've learned in business, I've been in business 28 years, and over my 28-year career, whether that person is a match or not a match, Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I define it today, which is, I know, Dr. Meg, probably not the best, clinical way to define that. But for me, for the novice in the room, it's a match or it's not a match. And you understand in that moment, okay, there's a reason for this. There's protection in it and there's opportunity in it. So I recognize when there's opportunity, and I also recognize when there's protection. So if you've ever been in a situation where you said, I don't know that this client is the right client for me. Yeah. I don't know that person's the right, I don't know that guy walking into my house is the right service provider to be working on my home, for example.
Right.
And then you find out later on, he's been, convicted for rape, right? And you go, oh, wow. Yeah, sure, okay. Now I know. Now I know why I had that. And listening to it, because I think this is very true of women, especially. We sometimes second guess ourselves, and we go, oh, I don't know that I should feel that way. And what I've told my daughters, I've got a 28-year-old daughter and a 21-year-old daughter. And I've said, listen, when you get that I call it the spidey sense of this, when you get this, right? Yeah. It's not the technical term. You should talk to Dr. Meg about the technical term of this.
Spidey sense totally works.
Thank you. Yeah. But when you get that feeling, pay attention to it. Don't brush it off, because there's typically a reason for it. And it's not just for who you date or who you let into your home. It's for every business relationship that you're in. It's for, you may not know, many years ago, I had a gentleman that came to my firm, and he was excellent. I run and own and operate financial planning firms all over the nation. And so in business, I get a lot of interviews, and he had a financial planning firm, and he wanted to merge his firm with mine as a larger provider. And anyway, he came in, he checked all the boxes, right? He had all the credentials, check. He was good with people, check. He looked good. He had the perfect family. He had 2 young boys and a beautiful wife who was a nurse, and he was fabulous. He was fabulous. And he'd walk into a room and you'd go, yeah, this guy's great. But I had this, I had this moment, and I began to ask him questions, and he answered all the questions right. But with each question that he answered right, I felt yuckier.
Because you felt it wasn't the truth.
Yeah.
It wasn't reflective of who he really was and what he really believed. And
it was the facade. It was the mask he was wearing. It was the mask. And, I hired him anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I hired him anyway. And I looked at the social pressure of, hey, I need a guy that does this, and he'll be very good in this space, and yada, yada. He was with me for about 18 months. And then I let him go. And I even to this day, I can't even tell you why I let him go, other than it was this moment. A year later, he was arrested for sex trafficking of young girls.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Right. Yeah. I mean,
now he checked every box.
Yeah.
He was perfect on paper. He was great in person even. Yeah. But when I had that moment, and so I would just encourage you as you're listening to this, when you get that moment, and especially in business, because reputation is everything.
So true. Yeah.
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 And when you get mixed up with someone, people say birds of, at least where I come from, I come from the north. I'm about an hour from Canada, smack dab in the middle of the United States. And, we're a lot of country people here. We're a lot of farm people. We're a lot of just hardworking agricultural based people in this particular. I live in 3 places, Minot, North Dakota, Tampa, Florida, and Costa Rica. But where I grew up was hardworking farm people. And they would say, birds of a feather flock together.
Yes.
And so you don't want that reputation as someone with that type of moral dysfunction. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely a moment. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's so many There's so many things. Like I often will tell people to look back at your life because intuition leaves breadcrumbs. You look back and go, oh, that moment I knew I needed to do this and I followed it and this happened and I didn't follow it and that happened. And, I mean, we have choice. We don't have to follow it. But I think, a lot of people have a really difficult time trusting their intuition. And for you, how does trusting your intuition, like, how does it play out in your life at this point in your life?
Yeah, so I've learned to really live life rich. It's a common theme, and it's something I'm really passionate about sharing the idea with people because people define rich in different ways. And let me just share with you what I mean when I say that. So for me, living life rich is living life rich in really 5 core areas of your life. Emotionally, where are you at with things like your work-life balance and how you feel about yourself? And when you look in the mirror, is the first thing you say is "I'm awesome" or "I suck"? Right? Like, and that's a
huge
big
impact on your day and your life, everything.
And I remember going through divorce several years back in 2010, 11, 12. My marriage was just in chaos and shambles, and divorced in 13. But I remember looking in the mirror. I was 60 pounds overweight. I hated myself. And I was like, God, you're fat. You can't keep your stuff together. You can't figure out your businesses. You're failing at life. You're failing at, your husband's stepping out on you. All of these things are happening. And I remember looking in the mirror and going, you're not awesome. You're a big fat fraud. That's literally what I thought about myself.
Wow. And then that, of course, that impacts every single area of your life,
Yeah.
So,
and it wasn't until after that divorce and several other just turning points, I would just share with you, there's some turning points in life that farther along, why.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. Again, it's the breadcrumbs. It's those things that when you look back, you go, oh, that's why that happened,
Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense now. And I had, so as I was kind of developing this over time, one of the things that I found is that I said, who are the richest people I know? And I'm not talking about wealth. And I work with a lot of wealthy people. I work with everything from startup entrepreneurs and solo entrepreneurs and providers to, multi-million-dollar corporations, right? And when you start talking about people that have $65 million and hate themselves in the mirror every day, they're not, they have riches in wealth from a pocketbook standpoint in the financial side, but their health has fallen apart. Their relationships are falling apart. It's a cancer of the soul, and money can't fix it. Money can't fix it. And they come to me and they say, how do I fix this? How do I fix the broken relationships with my children? How do I fix it? And I say, well, first of all, I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach and I'm a mentor, right? Yeah. But I've learned a little bit about a few of these things. And so I can share with you from this aspect in your family, in your business, where you're at, and where I think I can help, and where I think I need to refer you to the right type of specialist. Right. Traumas and dramas beyond what I can work with. Right. But I think about that living life rich. And to me, I define that as living it emotionally, relationally. So in your relationships, spiritually. So whatever it is that you're connected to, I'm not trying to here to convert you. So everybody take a pill, take a pill. But to connect to something bigger than you. So whatever that is, whatever you define that is, and you, God, universe, whatever you call it. And then physically, how are you living physically?
Yeah.
Because I know people that have gone through major medical illnesses, and now they're locked in their bed, and they can't get out of bed, and they feel useless, and they feel empty, and they feel like a burden to everyone around them. And it's a horrible place to wake up. And they look in the mirror and they say, like I said back in 2010 and 11 and 12, you suck. I hate you. You're a fraud. You're failing at everything. And the reality is that I wasn't failing at everything. No. But I felt like I was failing at everything.
Right.
So,
and then you produce that result, or that's the result that you see all around you when you have those kinds of beliefs,
Yeah. I call it BS, right? It's broken systems that you've built into your life. It's broken systems.
Okay.
It's the BS that we've built in. And you can build in epic systems, like, again, the intuition to say this is a match or not a match. This is what will guide and direct me through my decisions, right? Guide and direct me through my days. It's the difference between be quiet or speak up, or ask this question. Sometimes I'll have a question when I'm working with my clients, and I'll ask them a question and they'll say, how come you asked me that question? I said,
you did it from that intuitive place.
Yeah. I'm like, well, and I'll just share with them, my gut just said, this is something we need to talk about today. Yeah. And they were like, how did you know? And then when I began to trust that, my relationships got stronger. They got deeper. My client relationships got better. The right type of client for me, and me being the right type of advisor for them, we came together.
Yeah, that's so great. And that's exactly what happens. And I think this is important for people to understand, is that when you do open up your intuition and you do choose to follow it, and you do and you do the motions, like you just do it, you just follow it. It brings opportunities to you. It brings people to you. It brings situations, healers, everything that you need will come to you because you're opening to this sacred part of you. I think it's the most important part of you,
And all things flow to it and through it. All good things flow to it and through it. And so emotionally, relationally, spiritually, physically, and financially, even the financial opportunities after I began to, it was another turning point for me. I had met a man after my divorce, and we had dated for about 2 years, and I had no intention of dating. I was on the man hater, I'll never do that again thing after being married for 21 years. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Yeah. And I met this guy, and we began to visit, and there was just something there. I can't even explain it. Just give him a chance. He's a diamond in the rough. And I kept hearing, he's a diamond in the rough. He's a diamond in the rough. And absolutely not the type of personality I would have picked to ever even, hang out with. Right. Right. But I come to find out this, 6'3" ex-Army Ranger, built like a brick house, with PTSD, has spent, 3 years in a bottle after he did multiple tours in Iraq as a sniper.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's intense.
And he never got help. He never got help. So I meet him and I begin to talk with him, and he begins to share, and he said, I've never told anyone this. And he begins to open up and just become who he was meant to be, and heal. And he healed through this. And I encouraged him to get help, and I encouraged him to talk to someone who could really understand those things. Because he said, you'd never understand, because you're a beautiful, perfect, sweet angel, and you've never shot someone in the head. Wow. And I went, man, can you imagine what he carries in his soul?
No kidding.
And I said, you know what? I love you for who you are, not for what you've done, or even what you will become. I love you for who you are. And it was the first person in his life who had ever said it to him. He was left in a sandbox when he was 3 years old by his drug-addicted mother, brought into the system.
Oh my goodness.
Adopted into the system. And at 17 years old, he joined the Army.
Wow.
And the Army was his family.
Okay.
So diamond in the rough, right?
Yeah. The Army's the family. And it's also why it would lead him to do that kind of job, because
absolutely. Yep.
I trust them, and they're showing me, what's the right thing to do for my country, or whatever it is. But, but that's, the fact that he unburdened himself. And that's really important for listeners to really think about, is like, what is the thing that's burdening you? What is the thing you're holding on to that you're not sharing and speaking? Because there's a liberation too in letting that out, because then it's easier for you to get to that intuitive voice. That's one of the things that can really cover it up, is the holding on to traumatic experiences and the guilt and shame you have for things that you've done.
Yeah.
Like, how beautiful that you loved him so dearly.
Well, and I asked him a question, what must you lay down? What must you let go that you cannot carry with you into this relationship with me? What must you lay down that no longer serves you? It's a huge question. And we do it all the time. And for all of us, if you are not in the place where you want to be, what must you lay down that no longer serves you? And maybe it's, hey, I screwed up my financials years ago and I had to declare bankruptcy. Maybe I went through a divorce. Maybe I gone through 3 divorces. Maybe, maybe I'm not as far along as my, Ivy League brothers and sisters that now are CEOs of multiple corporations, maybe it's just the comparison thing, whatever it is.
Right.
But a few years after we were dating, James called me and he said, baby, I can't walk. Now I'm a traditional girl. He lived at his house. I lived at mine. And he said, babe, I can't walk. And I rushed over to his house. I put him on my back. We get to the ER a few hours later. They say he is full of cancer. Oh my God. So we get airlifted. We get airlifted to Minneapolis. And we then spend the next 3 months. I've spent the next 3 months sleeping in a hospital chair next to him. And now I had a decision to make. And I'll just share with you this intuition. If you really hone in to listening to this in all areas of your life, your business, your relationships, everything, walk left, walk right. This is how I live my life, literally.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I called my team and I said, guys, I'm going to be airlifted in about 3 hours to Minneapolis. I have no idea when I'm coming back, and I'm not coming back until it's over.
Wow.
And they were like, wait, what? You're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation. I said, you are prepared, you are sourced and resourced with all that you need. I have led you for 25 years. You can do this. I believe in you. You guys have this. And if you need me, I'll be here. Right. But I have to be here because this is the place that I know. And everyone called me, literally everyone, my mama, my sisters, everybody was calling and saying, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? You can't just leave your life and get on a plane and leave with this man and be with him. And I said, this is where I have to be.
You can't not. When you're following that inner voice and you just know this is the path I must take right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. And that's a big thing about intuition that's so hard for people, is it so often makes zero sense,
Yeah. And they didn't understand it. And I remember having a conversation. I was actually out in the hallway with talking to my mom, and the nurse comes running down the hall and she says, oh my gosh, you're still here. And I said, well, of course I'm still here. Where else would I be? She said, you got to come quick. And we go running down the hall to James's room. And I had cleaned up everything. I'd put everything cleaned it all up. So my bags everything was cleaned up, and he thought I had left. And this man was sitting on the side of his bed and his face in his hands, sobbing uncontrollably, shaking back and forth, just rocking back and forth. And I said, James, what's going on? What's wrong? And he said, I thought you left.
Oh, wow.
And I said, James, I made a promise. I made a promise. I would be with you no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, all I saw as soon as you said that was him as a 3-year-old in the sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what his experience had been his entire life, that when things got hard, people left him. And I made him a promise. I was down on my knees, held his hands in front of him, looking up at him. And I just said, listen, I made a promise to you. I will be with you no matter what, for as long as it takes. And nothing in this world is more important than you in this moment.
It's powerful.
And it was the difference maker. And a few months later, after a epic battle, I was praying over him on Christmas Day, and he said, and he lifted my face in his hands, and he said, baby, you keep praying for a miracle, but I already got my miracle the day that I found you.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I found my faith. I've got a family who loves me, and I know where I'm going. So I need you to make me a promise. I need you to make me a promise that you will not spend 5 years in a bottle like I did after Iraq, that you will get up and you will live. You will live every day and you will never waste a day because you were born to change the world. And every day that you get up is a gift. Every day. And he said, so you take me with you. You take me with you on every adventure. You take me with you as you change the world. And I'll be waiting for you one day. And a few short weeks later, I held him in my arms as he took his last breath.
Wow.
And I said, baby, I love you so. And I'm going to keep my promise until we meet again.
Oh my God.
And it was a turning point because
Huge.
since that day in 2016, I have lived every day. I have not wasted one day.
Wow. And I mean, the life that you lead, it's just so beautiful. I mean, when I first met you, I was just so struck by how you reach out to everybody and say, how can I help you? How can I help you? It's always, you're very service oriented. And I can see that that's a huge piece of what leads you to the next thing. Is that how you view it as well?
Yeah, it's everything because it's not about even meeting all the goals and objectives. It's here's the standard I live my life by. And it's the intuition I follow every single day, that whatever and whoever is put in my path today, my purpose, my sole purpose is that I leave them better than I found them.
Yes.
And if that is how I define never wasting a day, that I make a difference in every day for at least one life. And I evaluate it every day. I evaluate it every day. Every day I value people. Every day I look for ways to value people. Every day I do things to value people. Every day I evaluate who did I help. And every day I encourage others to do the same.
That's beautiful. And I think that's a great way for anybody who's listening to live,
Life is hard. And we don't know, this is the hardest part, I think, is that this is why you need the intuition. This is why you need to listen to the voice. It's why you need to develop that muscle of really honoring it when it speaks to you, because you don't know what they're going through, and people don't look like what they've gone through. I don't look like I grew up in a trailer court with 8 kids and no heat in a North Dakota winter. I don't look like the poverty I come from.
Yeah.
I don't look like the mom who's raised 2 bipolar kids as a single mother. I don't look like a blind woman. I am legally blind, and you would never know it.
I had no idea. I had no idea. Wow.
And it was another turning point for me. I have a genetic disorder, and my brother has the same genetic disorder.
Wow.
And when he was 21, he went blind. And a few years later, I was sitting in the same doctor's chair, getting the same news.
Wow.
That you too have this same genetic disorder. And I thought, who's going to follow a blind financial advisor? Now I was in my 30s at this point, and I thought my life is over. I'm completely hosed. I'm a solo shop. And in that period of time, I made a decision. Okay, you can do this. And I hear this voice, keep going, build a team. You can do this. And now I have teams all over the United States, and 43 states we've got clients, and multiple people that I lead. And in that moment, had I listened to that voice that said, you're not enough, where would we be? Where would all of those people be?
Yeah. And it's those voices too, those self-deprecating voices that will cloud your ability to connect to the intuitive.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll completely cut off that ability,
So we let those past mistakes, and we let the condemnation, just you look at the word itself, and it's a kind of a spiritual word. But if you look at the word condemnation, it has a little tiny itty bitty bitty piece of truth. And then it blows it all into this whole other story that we tell ourselves about the life that we now either have to live because of where we're at, or we get to live because of our perspective.
Yes.
Right.
And I love the distinction between those two things.
Yeah.
There's, what you have to do and there's what you get to do. If you just shift that one perception, it can make life so, so much better.
So again, I'm going to come back to that. What are you telling yourself?
Yeah.
And are you training yourself in that moment? So I think this is the beautiful part about the work that you do, Dr. Meg, is that in you sharing with people, okay, that there's really a process. You can build this over time, but it takes work. And so if you want a better life, if you're sitting over here on Pain Island and over here is Pleasure Island, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to scale the mountain by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I share with people is you don't have to do that by yourself. Who sold you that crappy ass manual that says you have to do this by yourself? Life was not meant to be done by itself. This is where people like you who have healed themselves from fibromyalgia, right? You think about what you've gone through. You've taken something that people spend years in suffering and in their bed and in their relationships, and they can't have intimacy with their mate, and they can't walk down the street, and they can't take a vacation, and they have to think about what is the next medication and what are their trigger points.
Yeah.
And you go, what the heck? Who sold you on that crappy ass plan for life? You get to live life rich. You get to live life rich, but you've got to do something different to get that life.
Exactly.
Anyway, so I get really passionate about that.
I love the whole concept. And I am just dying to ask you about a mountain in Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah.
She owns a mountain in Costa Rica. And I love that you do that. I mean, just the symbolism of everything that you've been through and that whole idea of climbing a mountain and day after day, just like going for the next step until you get to the summit and you can see all around and you have this, that metaphor to me is just so beautiful because of who you once were and what you have become.
Yeah. I just actually did dinner last night with my sister as I was traveling through the town that she lives in, and had a few minutes, and I said, hey, let's do dinner. I want to be really intentional with our time together. And she said, you are a totally different person than you were 15 years ago, than you were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 2011, I was broken. I was overweight. I was frustrated with everything. I was dang near broke. I mean, from a financial standpoint, I had a little bit, but very enough to get me by, but not enough to have freedom. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And defining freedom is right now I work because I love what I get to do every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not because I must have the financials.
That's a whole different way of looking at it too.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a really fun place to be. And so I help people every day master their money, master their wealth, master their business, master their strategy. And now I look at that and I get to do this. How many more people do I get to help this week and this month? And yes. But anyway, I sat down with her and she said, you're a completely different person. And so after James passed on in 2016, a friend of mine called and he said, you should come to Costa Rica, and my wife and I would like to host you, and it's time for you to come. And I said, listen, I'm a planner. I plan everything. And I'm just going to get on a stupid plane and come to Costa Rica. And he said, no, I really feel like, and he's an intuitive guy. It's what he does every single day. He lives every day of his life like this. And he said, I promise you that there is something here for you. I don't know what, but please come. Please based on our friendship, please reconsider, because I know it's so epic and so impactful for your life that if I have to buy your plane ticket and come get you, I'll do it. And I said, okay, Chris, I'm getting on a darn plane. All right, dude. So I get on a plane, I go to Costa Rica, and I say to him, listen, I love people, but I can't right now. I can't even barely take a shower. I'm suffering. Yeah. And if you've ever gone through really tough loss,
deep grief,
that level of grief is, I've never felt pain in my life like this.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was walking around bleeding out, like someone had shot me in the chest and no one saw that I was bleeding out of my chest every day. And so I get on this plane, I go to Costa Rica, and I said, I don't want to be with people. I said, just, put me someplace a little bit more remote where I don't have to deal with that. And now his version of remote and my version of remote are two different things. My version of remote is no concierge services. Okay. Okay. No. All right. We have to go down. We have to go down to the restaurant. There's no room service. Okay, fine. Whatever. Right. There's only two pool bars, right? There's only two pool bars. His version of remote is there's no services, like there's nothing. So he drives me to the top of this mountain and puts me in this house, this little casita that's overlooking the mountain on 1,500 acres of undeveloped jungle. And, and it's just me up there at the top of this. And the lady of the house comes out and she says, where's your supplies? Where's your food? Where's your machete? Where's your satellite phone? Where's your stuff? And I said, I'm sorry.
No one give me this list.
I have 9 pairs of stilettos. I've got like 12 cute swimsuits.
Wait, the stilettos could function as a machete, can't they?
I know. Yeah.
Definitely a weapon.
I'm telling you, I beat the crap out of a scorpion with one of them and killed it. So yes, it did. Actually, it did. It saved me. But yeah, it was a fun story. And I got a box of Cheez-Its. That's all I got. So it was a wild road, but I came down, I got up that next morning after realizing, okay, I'm stuck on this mountain for like literally stuck on the top of a mountain for 10 days. And he's not coming back for another 4 to check on me. I am completely by myself. So I pull on my workout clothes, get on my tennis shoes, and I find out that there is a beach at the bottom of this, of where I'm at, where I'm staying. And it's a private beach. So I trek down the mountainside, down the trail, with a machete that the lady of the house gave me before she left for Houston. And she says, you should probably keep this near you because like we have a groundskeeper, but he's not around all the time. And Tito doesn't speak English. And I'm like, this just gets better and better. What the hell? Like, this is the worst healing journey ever. So I go trekking down the thing, and I go to the beach and I draw this big circle on the beach. And I take a palm leaf and I sit in the middle of this circle and I literally cry, scream, write, and yell at God for the next 3 days. And I'm like, smite me, oh mighty smiter, you suck and my life is over. And what were you thinking? You stole everything important to me.
Wow.
And as I sat there, I began to just listen to this voice that said, you are not alone. Your footsteps were ordered here. There is a purpose for you to be here. Scream, cry, yell at me all you want. But this is exactly where I needed you to be. And every day I would trek up and down that mountainside, and every day my soul healed a little. And I remember the last day that I was there, I just said, God, I don't understand this. And again, I'm not being preachy here. Whatever your faith journey is, this is mine. So it's my story. I'm not trying to convert people. But I just said, I don't understand this, God. Like, I don't get it. Right? After everything, why? Come on. And I walked back up this mountainside and I just heard, do you trust me? Because I promise you're not alone. There's a mission for you here. I have something prepared for you. And farther along, you'll know why. So I grab my backpack, I trek back up the mountainside, and out of the bushes I hear on the left side, and out of the bushes I hear on the right side. And I'm like, crap, I'm going to get eaten by a freaking panther in Costa Rica. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Jungle.
Like, what is going on here? And this white stallion, I have pictures of it. I share it in a keynote that I share. I have pictures of it. A white stallion comes out on my right-hand side. A white stallion comes out on my left-hand side.
Oh my gosh, this is biblical.
Yeah. And walks. I have pictures and video of me talking to these 2 white stallions as they walked me up the 5 miles up the mountainside. They walked with me 5 miles up a mountain trail. And on the left side and on the right side, they walked beside me. And here's what I heard the whole way. I go before you. I walk beside you. I have your back. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone.
Oh my God.
I get to the front of the gates of where I'm staying, and the horses, turn around, these stallions turn around, go back into the bushes, and I, wave goodbye with my little cell phone. And I'm telling you, everything changed from that moment. And fast forward the story, we start a foundation in Latin America. We began to build sewing schools for women. And it was an absolute walk of faith from the very beginning. Like things that should take 3 years took 3 months. And on the very same mountain that I invested my entire life savings to build this sewing school.
Oh my God.
And start this journey. My daughters and I went back and we built the sewing school with a team of people to help women to do something better in the world. And this was a healing place because I was healed in this place, and my soul was restored in this place. Mm-hmm. And on that exact same mountain, the mountain came up for sale 2 years later.
And you're like, bing.
Yeah. And so it got sold for cents on the dollar. And it just so happened that I had this huge business deal that came in just the day before. I got word the day before. Yeah, of course. And my business partner in Costa Rica calls and says, "You're not even going to believe it." And I said, "Is it this much?" And he said, "Yeah. How'd you know?" And I said, "Well, I just had this much deposited into my bank account yesterday in my business account." I said, "Buy the mountain. Go to the auction, buy the mountain." So now we own a mountain there and it's called The Retreat. And people come from all over the world to be healed and restored and have this place. It's in the middle of the Costa Rica region, one of only 5 blue zones left in the world. Oh. And now we're building a retreat center, which will be fully completed by next June. And people will be able to come and do vision retreats and healing retreats and just take that time to just, right? Like we need that time just to blow all that out that we carry with us. And we carry with so much of people's stories with us every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Let alone our own, so much. So, oh my God.
So now really I own a mountain and a coffee plantation and 300 citrus trees. And we started an organic farm, and everyone in the region is employed now with good jobs. And that's
what it's about. And that's part of like living rich, because, and you say this is like, you become rich so you can help prosper others. It's a ripple effect. It's not so you can, just hoard it and hold on to it. And it's, share it.
If you are a person that has a heart to love people, to serve people, and to meet them where they're at, please listen to this. Please, of all the things you hear from me today, I hope this one thing stays with you and resonates. Here it is. It's the most important thing that I'm going to share with you. The world needs you rich. The world needs you rich. Repeat after me. The world needs me rich. 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 And the reason the world needs you rich is they need you rich emotionally, relationally, spiritually, physically, and financially, because you cannot give what you don't have. Everything that flows to me flows through me to others. Everything that flows to me flows through me to others. And so what I want to give off in every relationship, in every interaction, is that I want to give off that sense of a full, abundant richness in life. Mm-hmm. That this life is, that if you woke up above ground today, you get to be here. This is a gift. Yeah. You get to. In all the dysfunction and all the pain and all the suffering and all the stuff, in all of it, we get to be here. We get to. Yeah. And when you understand that it flows to you for a purpose that can flow through you, the abundance opens up. The financials open up. Your health opens up. Your relationships open up. Today, years later, I'm living in one of the most loving, amazing relationships. I can tell you, I never in my life dreamed that I would ever love someone after James.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I wake up every day now and it's like this amazing, for all of the pain and all of the suffering,
Mhm.
I never thought I'd be with someone past that day in Costa Rica when these white stallions are walking up. I thought, okay, that's a sign that God says I'm gonna do this journey alone, and He's gonna be with me.
Yep. Yeah.
But what I found is He's sent many with me since that journey time, and not just in primary love relationships, in business, in abundance across the board. He has paved the way, has been paved for me. And when I am open to it, I'm like, I can't believe that I get to live this life.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And it's waiting for you. So if you're listening to this and you're saying, that's not where I'm at, Marissa. That's not where I'm at, Dr. Meg. I'm in this place where I'm stuck on a hamster wheel, or I'm stuck chasing shiny things, or I'm stuck in my past, or I'm stuck with this condemnation of all the crap that didn't go right and all the many times that I failed before. You are listening to this today for a reason, on purpose, for you. This message was, don't say it's for somebody else. I promise you, this message was for you. You are enough. You are worthy to live life rich. The world needs you rich. And the enemy of your soul is telling you, not for you, not for you. And I will tell you that they are a liar. The enemy of your soul is a liar. And it was meant for you. And on the other side of a decision, and the journey to live life rich is this. It's love. It's patience. It's kindness. It's fulfillment. It's an absolute sense of purpose when I get up in the day that the world is a better place because I'm breathing. And that is waiting for you right now. It's waiting for you.
It's so true. It's so true. Everything that you say. There are no accidents, and your intuition led you to watch this today, to listen to this today.
Yeah.
And I'll bet, I can't even tell you how many people are going to be listening to this and going, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Because this is how it all works.
Yeah.
You find the things that will help you heal when you open. And that key thing you just said was the decision. You make that decision and boom, everything opens up. So thank you so much for your heart, your love, your richness. Like you exude it, like you exude that power that you're talking about. So, and your intuition, and all those things are one thing,
Yeah. And that source of that for you today, I would just share with you, life is hard. And I don't think it gets easier. I don't think it gets easier necessarily. What I think is that as we grow, as we become this best version of ourselves, as we listen to the voice inside, as we begin to step right, step left, speak, don't speak, right? As you begin to listen to that guidance inside your life, it's for you. This is for you. And when you believe that life doesn't happen to you, but it happens for you, everything changes. Because I see all of those things. I see, I see my painful divorce. I see the loss of my fiance. I see the bipolar. I see all of it. I see all the stuff, even the beatings as being a child. Now, I don't condone that, obviously, right? That was wrong. That was just sick and wrong. But I can tell you, looking back farther along, the number of people that I've spoken with that are stuck in that are no longer stuck in that after we've had a chance to really work through it. And I know that there are therapists listening to this. I know that there are counselors listening to this. I know that there are many, many different types of service-oriented people listening to this. Yeah. But even if you're not in that space, even if you're a mom or a dad or a sister or a best friend, you stand in the gap, hold out your hand, stand in the gap and hold out your hand and ask yourself, in this interaction with this person today, how can I leave them better than I found them? And sometimes just by listening to them and helping them unpack it, and then helping them come to a place of, here's my obstacle, here's my options, and here's where I want to be. Those three things: obstacles, options, and here's where I want to be. Getting them forward focused can move them out of that loop. And I'm not a therapist, so let me just say, the only thing I'm really good at is money, making money, helping people with it. My intuition in that area is on point, baby.
You're also great. You're great at a lot of things, like motivation and so much, inspiration, because there's been so much inspiration here today. And that's, I love the word inspiration, in spirit, and it's being in that place and living from that place that creates a rich life, So how can people get in touch with you?
So I do have a podcast. It is called Live Life Rich. There is, over 80 resources on that podcast right now, free downloads, different learning tools that you can get. And I do those normally in series. So check it out, Live Life Rich, wherever podcasts are. Or you can find me on my website, marissanehlsen.com. And again, you can listen to the podcast there. You can go get a bunch of free resources there as well. I've got many resources on that website. If you go there, the 7 steps to design a rich life. That's something that's been very, very powerful. I've gotten a lot of feedback from clients really across the world. I did a bit in Switzerland this last year, and from Switzerland to Paris to London, I've had in all over Europe. There's a need for this everywhere. It's not just in the United States; it's all over the world. Yeah. And so, I would be delighted if you check that out. And I want nothing from you. I want it for you. And I mean that when I say that. That's why I give so many free resources away. Yeah. Take one piece and take that next. What do you believe is the next right step forward in your life? Mm-hmm. And if you have to write it down and tape it to your bathroom mirror, your refrigerator, your car dashboard, wherever it is, write it down. The world needs me rich. And that's why you listen to things like Dr. Meg's podcast, because you know intuitively that if you can tap into this part inside your heart, mind, and soul, that it's waiting for you on the other side of these teachings, of these processes, of these journeys every day, these one step, then take another. What's the right next step forward for you? Just take one step. Just take one step.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one leads to the next and the next, and just follow that inner voice and keep moving.
And then you own a mountain.
And motion. And then you own a mountain. All of a sudden, you have a couple of white stallions, walking up the mountain with you one day after a major blowout on the beach, which you needed. And I think that's an important place too. And I could go on and on and on with you forever, because this is rich conversation, is that. And I was getting to those moments where you just have those blowouts, where you have those emotional releases that you need to have really to be able to get the clarity to see what's in front of you, and to understand that you aren't alone and you are being guided and loved. You are so deeply loved every minute of every day,
Well, Dr. Meg, this has been absolutely delightful for me, and I cannot wait to have you. For all of Dr. Meg's listeners, just so you know, I'm going to put her on the spot right now. Dr. Meg, you got to come on my podcast. You just give me a solid yes, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, okay.
So we got a thumbs up.
We got a 2 thumbs up, a solid yes.
Yes.
Because the world needs to know how to heal themselves in the physical side of this as well. There's so much power in this, and I focus on other areas in my development, but I believe what you do, the work that you do, people have bought into some physician somewhere telling them this is your life. And I believe that the mind-body connection is the strongest, most important thing that we have. And the work that you do is not just stunning, but the world needs you, Rich, Dr. Meg. We need you. We need you.
Thank you. I'm right there with you on that. It's an important message, and it's like a pioneering one. It's really powerful, the way the mind or the body's affected from past experiences and how those can be released. Like, wow. And you can get well. from that. So like, it's very exciting. So
Love it.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This was so good. Thank you so much. Thank you to all your listeners as well. This has been absolutely delightful. I love the time together. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Of course.
Thank you so much for watching Intuitive Turning Points. I want you to go ahead and like the video, and please subscribe to my channel, and then ring the bell to get notifications of future episodes so that you can get the latest in Intuitive Turning Points, stories of successful entrepreneurs. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. Get your dose of inspiration right here on Intuitive Turning Points. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful for you.